Part 5. The Nutrition Crisis: How Food Became a Hidden Engine of Decline. Malnutrition, Unsafe Meals, and the Starvation Cycle Inside Long-Term Care, by Canadian Citizens Journal. Nutrition is the foundation of life, but it is treated like an afterthought. Food is not luxury. Food is not convenience. Food is medicine, especially for the elderly. Proper nutrition maintains strength, cognition, immunity, balance, healing, emotional stability. Yet across long-term care homes in Canada, food has become one of the least prioritized aspects of resident care. The issue is not resident preference or staff effort. It is a symptom of a system collapsing from within, and nutrition is one of the earliest indicators of that collapse. The decline in food quality is structural, not accidental. Workers across the country consistently report the same problems. Meals residents cannot chew, tough or dry meats, rubbery textures, undercooked or overcooked food, meals that break dentures, meals that are unsafe, bloody or undercooked meat, incorrect dysphagia textures, choking hazards, inconsistent portions, food arriving cold or watered down, meals that are unappealing or nutritionally empty, bland or oversalted, mushy or watery, visually unappetizing, stripped of vegetables or protein, mass-produced mixtures lacking nutrition. These are not isolated incidents or kitchen errors. They are the inevitable result of shrinking budgets and system-wide cost-saving measures. The illusion of choice: menus designed to impress, not to nourish. Many facilities present residents with menus containing elaborate or fancy dish names intended to create the appearance of quality and dignity. In reality, this creates a different crisis. Residents with Alzheimer's and dementia often cannot understand the titles. Even residents who are mentally alert struggle to interpret meals based on names that do not reflect everyday food. Workers routinely observe residents selecting meals they cannot visualize, residents confused by complex descriptions, residents expecting one thing and receiving something entirely different, residents walking away from tables because the food was unfamiliar, residents refusing meals simply because the names misled them. Shortages make it worse. Kitchens regularly substitute items due to missing ingredients, supply issues, or cost restrictions. Residents often end up with meals they never chose, meals they dislike, meals unsafe for their dietary needs, meals they cannot chew, meals that cause frustration or refusal. This does not reflect autonomy. It reflects a system pretending to offer dignity while delivering whatever is available. What residents need is simple, safe, recognizable home-cooked food with basic names. What they receive is often the opposite. The silent starvation cycle, a pattern seen across countless long-term care homes, follows the same progression. 1. Residents receive meals they cannot eat, tolerate, or understand. 2. Intake drops. 3. Staff, overwhelmed and rushed, cannot record accurate consumption. 4. Weight falls slowly over time. 5. Weight loss is dismissed as typical aging. 6. Malnutrition worsens. 7. Mobility weakens. 8. Infections increase. 9. Mood declines. 10. The resident is labeled palliative. 11. Maid becomes part of the discussion. This cycle is not the result of illness. It is produced by structural neglect. Food that causes harm. Food in long-term care is not merely inadequate. At times, it is dangerous. Workers have reported choking on tough meat, aspiration due to improperly thickened fluids, broken teeth from overcooked proteins, gagging from unsafe textures, vomiting from poorly prepared meals. Each incident contributes to reduced appetite, dehydration, fear of eating, muscle loss, frailty, emotional suffering, medical decline. Residents do not stop eating because they lost the will to live. They stop because the food is unsafe. Staffing collapse makes nutrition worse. Even when meals are technically edible, insufficient staffing makes proper feeding impossible. This leads to rushed feeding that increases choking risk, poor positioning that causes aspiration, missed snacks, forgotten drinks, entire trays returned untouched, no time to cut food into manageable pieces, no time for supervision, inaccurate documentation of intake. Nutrition fails the moment staffing fails, and staffing has failed across the country. One kitchen serving multiple units, the mass production problem. Many facilities rely on a single kitchen to serve. Independent living, assisted living, long-term care, dementia units. This means meals cooked in bulk hours before serving, long delays between preparation and delivery, temperature loss, texture breakdown, rushed plating, decreased quality, shortcuts to meet deadlines. This is not efficiency. It is cost-cutting disguised as logistics. Religious and cultural food needs ignored. Food is identity, spiritual, cultural, and personal. Yet residents often experience meals incompatible with their faith. Meat served rare when fully cooked is required. Pork served to those who cannot consume it. Lack of cultural foods. No alternatives or accommodations. This deepens emotional suffering. That suffering is later documented as existential distress, which now falls under MAID eligibility. Malnutrition is rarely documented, but its effects are visible everywhere. Facilities frequently fail to track calories, track protein intake, monitor micronutrients, record weight loss accurately, document refusals correctly, report dehydration. By the time anyone notices, the resident is often already weak, depressed, frail, cognitively impaired, increasingly immobile, prone to falls, vulnerable to infection. Families are then told the resident is simply failing to thrive, language that conceals the true cause. The system failed to feed them. Malnutrition is one of the fastest routes into palliative status. Once malnourished, residents decline rapidly. When that decline is documented as irreversible, the resident enters a palliative category. And once palliative, the doorway to medically assisted death opens. Not because the resident is dying naturally, but because preventable decline created eligibility. The food crisis is economic, not accidental. Food is one of the most costly aspects of long-term care. When budgets shrink, facilities cut corners, cheaper ingredients, fewer staff, mass-produced meals, reduced variety, low-quality substitutions. The system frames these changes as efficiency. Residents experience them as starvation. Food is life, and the system treats it as a line item. If children were fed these meals in Canadian schools, there would be outrage. If prisoners were fed these meals, human rights advocates would intervene. But elderly Canadians, the people who built communities, raised families, paid taxes, and contributed to this country for decades, are fed whatever fits the budget. This is not a nutritional crisis. It is a moral failure, and it is one of the hidden engines driving residents toward decline, palliative classification, and ultimately, aHidden.